Welcome to The Guardians, a podcast by Independent Trustee Services. Here, we explore the conversations that matter in protecting South Africa's retirement future, from governance and compliance to independence and member protection. Each episode brings you insights from experts and industry leaders with one clear purpose: to help trustees, employers, and members build stronger, safer retirement funds.
Good day to all our listeners. Today we have a very exciting topic, a fresh start, what funds should do differently in 2026. And I'd just like to introduce myself and my guest speaker. I'm Elizabeth Randles. I have more than 2 decades of experience in the employee benefits industry as a consultant, trustee and principal officer to various funds. My esteemed guest is Mr. Pieter Cronje. Pieter has had leadership positions such as principal consultant, head of legal and technical at Momentum Consultants and Actuaries. He's been manager of legal and compliance at ABSA for 22 years. He's spearheaded various projects related to legal, product and industry changes. He's had years of experience as a consultant, also worked at the Financial Services Board on the private pension funds, further strengthening his understanding of the regulatory landscape. He's experienced in every aspect of employee benefits, including consulting, asset consulting, healthcare consulting, and actuarial services. Welcome, Pieter.
Liz, thank you so much. I was just thinking while you were introducing me, mentioning all those things is also reflecting my age, yeah. Interesting, thanks.
Well, ditto. Anyway, just back to our topic today, a fresh start. And I always enjoyed going to school at the beginning of the year because you'd get brand new stationery and books that were clean and basically a blank slate. But starting a new year is a fresh start, and it's effectively a time to press a reset button, and it can boost your motivation and help you battle through things that you previously been through. So today we just like to discuss some ideas and strategies for making a fresh start in 2026. Pieter, I'm going to hand over to you just to go through the key messages.
So I think we are going to focus a bit on governance this morning. And governance in itself is a word, and it's a short word, but there are so much sitting behind that word. And at the end of the day, governance is that word that makes sure that trustees looks after the interests of members properly in various aspects. But the one thing that we have seen over the years, or that I've seen over the years, is that governance should not be reactive. To have effective governance, you need to be proactive. And we'll spend a bit of time on how you can do governance proactive. There's also a need for education, and specifically the trustees need to be educated on how to do proper governance, but also educated on much more. Then also, what small changes and fixes do you need to do? Specifically, like you have explained, when you push that reset button at the beginning of the year. That's basically the key messages that we want to talk to today.
Okay, thanks, Pieter. That's great. You very importantly said that governance should be proactive and not reactive. How do you feel you could put a workable governance framework in place for your retirement funds?
For me, having also had the privilege of looking after a portfolio of clients, the one thing that I realized that is key, absolute key, is a year plan. And again, it's such a simplistic thing, but if you pay proper attention to a year plan and you put your actions that you need, specifically from a governance perspective, in your year plan, that is your guidance. That guides you to make sure that you do the things, not only when you realize it is too late, you do it up front. There's a proper plan. Trustees have vision on when, why, what to do. And so a proper year plan with good input and proper management is critical tool to proactive governance in my mind.
I totally agree with you. I mean, setting the dates for meetings, subcommittee meetings, scheduling time for proper communication whenever elections would happen, service level agreements. It's an Excellent tool. How do you feel the agenda can be used to advance the governance framework?
So one of the things that we know is very important at this stage is the whole treating customers fairly principles. So firstly, you make sure that you introduce the customers treating fairly principles into your agenda to make sure that you set the mind or the mood of the trustees in the correct manner. And things that you will look at is you need to create a culture of governance, a culture of proper treatment of members. And then also you need to look at the needs of members. You need to make sure that the fund benefits are designed in a way that they benefit the members. And so members also need to understand what they are getting in terms of fund benefits, and therefore clear communication is critical. And clear communication is one of that aspects that must always stand out in your year plan and in your governance. Then when members have questions, there need to be proper mechanisms in place to ensure that members are responded to properly and in an understandable manner to them. Then member expectations, you need to make sure the member expectations are managed. Members sometimes do have an expectation to say, if I belong to a retirement fund, I will be able to retire comfortable. But that's where a critical part of proper governance needs to happen, is to make sure that members understand how much I put in will directly impact how much I will receive at the end of the day, because we are in a defined contribution type of environment. And that there are no unreasonable barriers to members, barriers to get their benefits, that they are paid within a reasonable time, barriers to get information around their benefits. So those are the type of things that you need to make sure that you include in your agenda, just from a treating customer fairly perspective.
It's so important. I mean, members should be put at the foremost of the fund. We are actually in the business of paying claims to members. That's what all the governments relates to. Anyway, we have quite a comprehensive governance structure in South Africa, including the Act, regulations, circulars, the fund rules and whatever. How do you feel we can embrace that legal structure to assist us in our governance efforts going forward in 2026?
Yeah, Liz, we all know of COFI that's going to come in, that's going to change from a more rule-based to a principle-based type of approach, and also to sort of make the governance structures for different entities more aligned than we have currently. So you can see, just thinking about the way that COFI is going to come in, that it's not going to be a tick box exercise anymore. So you need to create an environment where governance is critical and part of your day-to-day activity. And that's how you utilize your year plan, is to make sure that you bring in something that you do tick, that you have done everything, but that ticks is not of a nature of just, okay, we get rid of it. It is, you tick it in a way that you ensure that you actually make that governance actions work for you, work for the members. So that is how I see we bring it in. And I mean, we have so many guidelines. We have legislation, like you have mentioned. We have the whole Section 7C(d) in the Pension Funds Act that explains to you what the optic of the board is and what the duties are. We have the regulatory circular from the pension fund regulator, PF 130, that we all know as one of a critical element of governance, as well as the King IV principles. And those are all the type of things that you need to embed as part of your whole governance structure. Thanks, Liz.
Yes, it's sometimes important maybe just to go back to the basics and revisit the Act and, the various sections. Like, for example, as you mentioned, Section 7C and 7D. I don't know whether you want to comment on that, Peter?
If you think about what you need to do as a trustee, for example, we all know that it is a fiduciary role that you need to fulfill. And fiduciary is actually a very simplistic type of scenario, you need to look after someone else's interest better than you look after your own interest. And if you look at that specific sections in the Act, they do codify the fiduciary principle actually really nice. Take all reasonable steps to ensure that the interest of members in terms of the rules of the fund and the provisions of the Act are protected at all times. And that is critically your primary governance function, is to make sure that the interests of members are protected in terms of the rules of the Act. And then you have your fiduciary principles: act with due care, diligence and good faith, avoid conflict of interest, act impartial and independent. And wow, those two words, impartial and independent, are so important for specifically boards of trustees. You can't act as a spokesperson of another party when you are a trustee. And specifically why it's so important, we are working with boards of trustees that are normally elected, and when you talk about election, you have the feeling of constituency and a right of representing the constituency. But the Act is actually saying, no, you must act impartial and you need to protect all the members in terms of the rules of the fund and not only your constituency. And independently also, you can't work on a mandate. You need to act truly fiduciary when you act as a trustee in the best interest of the fund and the members. Liz, I can go on and on about that, but yeah.
Yeah, but it's strange how it ties back so closely to the treating customers fairly principles again. You know, the member is, pivotal in the whole scenario. Looking at risk management, obviously we've had various cases in the news recently where either administrators or investment managers, etc., have been accused of fraud or mismanagement. How would you look at that in the new year, the new changes that you're going to be making?
Yeah, we are living in a world where risk management becomes more and more challenging and important. We've seen so many new types of risks arising the whole time, and there are quite an increasingly number of complex risks like market volatility. I mean, we see what happens in the market every time one of the foreign presidents says something. Our market goes up and down. Inflation, we know that there are new inflation targets that the Reserve Bank, which also impacts interest rates. And trustees, unfortunately, need to take that into account when they do risk management planning. There are also this whole cybersecurity buzzword that we all are hearing now is also critical as part of your risk management. We have the two-pot system that came in a while back, and two-pot in essence, I think, has been embedded by most funds. But what they possibly still struggle with is the knock-on effect on all the other activities. And so, yeah, critical risks out there that need to be embedded in your governance structure and plans.
Agree. Just in terms of service providers, if you're looking at operational and administrative efficiency, how would you look at that from a risk perspective?
Yeah, your service provider is also so important. When you work in a fiduciary capacity or as a fund trustee, most of your service providers normally need to be licensed. So if you say back to basic, that is one of the most back to basics that you can get, just to check that the person that you appoint is properly licensed. And I think there's no excuse if that is not checked. And also track records. There need to be a revision. You need to make sure that whatever you agreed upon with the service provider is delivered. So there need to be monitoring. We work on a mandate of delegating, but the moment that you delegate contractually to a service provider or delegate in any other way, immediately monitoring must also pop up. And that's part of your process, is to monitor whether or not your service providers are actually delivering the services and also taking that back to your treating customers fairly principles.
Thanks, Peter. So, as I said, let's do a reset for the new year and focus on the basics. What do you think that the most important aspects would be?
Liz, for me, there are a couple of things, but if I would ring-fence 2 things, the one thing would be, for me, communication specifically to members, to make sure that they get the necessary information, they get it timeously, they understand the retirement fund world. So that is something that need to have a critical point in a governance plan for me in a new year. And the other is also, how do I ensure that my trustees or my board is up to date? So education is as important. Communication to members also has an education element in it, and then education to trustees. We work I've mentioned it earlier, we work with trustees that are elected. So it's not as if there's a minimum educational requirement. The FSCA has introduced the trustee training toolkit as a minimum requirement, but that is a wide, it's excellent material, but it is wide, and trustees need to be educated on many things like risk management, like security, this whole cyber security aspect. There are so many things that trustees actually need to be able to look out for, that education is a critical thing for me.
I totally agree. How do you feel about independent trustees and their skills?
This independent trustees is also a very important role player in specifically our commercial umbrella funds and those type of funds. And the environment where I've worked in is the independent trustees are critical in essence to manage conflict of interest firstly, because normally when you work in a commercial umbrella fund, you do sit with conflict of interest where the sponsor or whoever has established the fund appoints trustees, and some of the trustees do have links with that sponsor. So there's a conflict of interest environment, and that's where your independent trustees start to balance it out. So critical for independent trustees is to understand their fiduciary responsibility and specifically their role around conflict of interest. And conflict of interest and independence is something that we still sort of struggle with in a retirement fund world. And I think one of the critical things there is the definition of independence. And I mean, it's easy to say someone need to be independent, but if you start to draw the lines to independence in South African trustee environment, it's actually becomes very complex, because you ask the question, who is paying the salary? Where have you worked previously? What business relations? There are all those type of things, and it's critical that independent trustees do manage those type of things very properly.
There's definitely a role, but thanks, Peter. I agree. I think we were going to move on to continuous trustee education as our second highlighted point for 2026, but I think you've actually covered that quite in depth. As you said, the trustee toolkit is the only mandatory training at the moment. So our third item was, what small structural fixes can you look at for 2026 to just improve the governance structure of the fund?
Yeah, so robust risk management systems need to be implemented. That is the one thing. And in order to enhance your board effectiveness, sorry about that tongue tie, the mandatory training for board members specifically should be introduced. And mandatory training you can do at every board meeting, or you can arrange specific training sessions or a combination of both. Your independent trustees, one independent trustee is probably not going to make any difference in a board. You at least need to have 50% or more independent trustees in board where independent trustees are needed, and then clear roles for trustees. They need to understand, and we've mentioned the conflict of interest in depth, but conflict of interest is critical. And then audits, and we do have an auditor that comes in every year and check the financials and those type of things. But maybe there need to be more focus from the board on establishing a proper audit committee which looks at different types of things at different environments and spaces where they need to check. And also, trustees need to understand that they are accountable to members. Again, that member communication that we have mentioned earlier is so important that we do fulfill our accountability to members properly.
Those are fantastic key points that our listeners can take away. Thanks, Peter. So we're going to quickly summarize the focus for 2026, what we should do, and then thereafter we're going to look at some resolutions that listeners can adopt. So I'll hand back to you, Peter, about the focus for 2026.
Yeah, Liz, thanks. And we have been talking about a number of things, but the one important aspect that should come through is that we must put members first. There must be fair treatment of members as well as other stakeholders, and that need to be part of the culture of the fund. As we have said also earlier, benefits need to meet the needs of members, bringing us back to this whole treating customers fairly principles, clear communication to members, the whole communication. And then, we haven't mentioned counselling, but benefit counselling that has been introduced a while back, such an important part of proper communication to members. Governance structure must be in place, and it must actually work for the fund and not just be a tick list. That is a critical part, and strategic planning needs to be done. And we have said the strategic planning includes drawing up a proper year plan when you push that reset button.
Yes, thanks. 3 resolutions that our listeners can adopt. Can you broaden on that? Thanks.
Reflect and reset. That is before you rushing into your new goals. Take time and reflect on the past year. Learn from the mistakes and also from the achievements, and bring that into your planning. Acknowledge your wins, recognize and celebrate your successes, no matter how small. It builds a positive momentum going forward. Learn from setbacks. So don't dwell on your failures. Instead, identify the lessons that you can learn from things that don't go as planned. So, fail your failures fast and continue. Thank you, Liz.
Thanks, Peter. As you say, let's go. Let's start 2026 with a powerful burst of energy. I really loved your message that we are all about putting members first, paying claims, making sure that members understand their benefits, the communication, absolutely pivotal to the government structure. So I would just like to say thank you to our listeners for listening. We hope you enjoyed and found value in our podcast, and please stay tuned for similar podcasts in the future. And thank you very much to our guest, Peter Cronje, for joining us in the studio. Thank you, Peter.
Liz, thank you. It was a pleasure.
Thank you for listening to The Guardians podcast, brought to you by Independent Trustee Services. If you found today's discussion valuable, be sure to share it with your network and join us for future episodes. Together we can strengthen governance, promote independence, and safeguard the future of millions of South Africans. You can catch all episodes on our website at independentTrusteeServices.co.za and follow us on LinkedIn for updates and resources.